Hello, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me for another of my interviews. Now, you may remember there was that lovely lady who stood up to the Glastonbury Town Hall and told them what was really going on, and they sat back somewhat aghast, if I can get my words out this morning. And the video of that went viral, and her name, of course, is Sandy Adams. She's been on the show before. We interviewed her and she told us all about the net zero agenda and all of that. And it's great to have her back because we're going to talk about events, certainly one event, but it could be a whole chain of events in which we start to get a debate on the ridiculous notion that man-made global warming needs a net zero agenda in which we're all going to be locked up in 15-minute cities, that we can get rid of cars and all of that. Sandy, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
It's I promised that I would garble some form of intro, and I have done that again. It's lovely to have you back. You're doing such amazing work behind the scenes, and in that video that we saw a month or two ago now, in which it went viral, and a lot of people have spoken to me about it. So, have you seen that? Have you seen that video? And of course, we spoke about how it went viral. But things move on, and you're doing great guns now to try and get people together to actually debate the issue behind all of the nonsense that we've got. So let's talk about that.
Yes, I mean, that video that was actually 4 months ago now.
Was it 4 months ago? Blimey.
Because it was in March.
Yeah.
March the 14th, and that did go viral. It's had over 6 million views. So I realised then that there was this need to that people really wanted to hear this,
yes.
And that that there was something in it. Well, of course there's something in it, but anyway, I then approached during that talk. I did ask the council if we could have an open and honest debate about net zero, because this is a conversation that needs to be had, because we have so much proof that all of this has been based on a big fat lie, and we know that. Yes, there are issues with pollution, there are issues with a lot of things, but not CO2, and we don't need to have these draconian tyrannical measures, and that's what they are, and they're there to actually control us. It's got nothing to do with environmentalism, and we really need to have an open talk about this, because net zero climate emergency, i.e. net zero, is in every town council in our country, and there's a reason for that. It was brought in just before the Earth Summit in 1990, and it's called the International Committee for Environmental and Local Initiatives, ICLEI. And ICLEI, after 2090, was brought into every single town council in the world. So it's everywhere. It's in Africa, it's in Canada, it's everywhere. So this isn't any grassroots thing about environmentalism. This is a global agenda. And on top of that, you interviewed a very amazing chap called Tony Millen. I don't know when it was. It was probably in July, or I can't remember.
Oh, that was probably in March, similar sort of time, really.
March. Well, he brought up a very good point, and I sort of followed it up and found the paperwork, because actually in 2012 there's something called the National Planning Policy Framework, and that was brought in to town council, the NPPF. They love an acronym, don't they?
Don't they?
And that was updated in 2001, and it sets out the government's planning policies for the whole of England under sustainable development. Now, this is a framework for every town council under planning, and it's from the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities. Now, levelling up is another term they use, and this will be used a lot, and it's to do with bringing sustainable development, net zero policies into your community. And this is something everyone needs to be aware of. Look it up. It's called the National Planning Policy Framework, and it's a government document. Look it up, pick it apart, and take it to your own town councils. Now, that's all I'm going to say on that. But
sorry, I beg your pardon.
Right.
I was just going to see if I could find it online.
Yes,
what's it called again?
It's called the National Planning Policy Framework, and it's under a gov.uk document.
The National Planning Policy Framework. Here we go.
Framework, yeah. and it was put into operation in the 27th of March 2012, but it's been updated several times since then.
Here we
That's the
go.
one. Well done. Yes, that's it. Um, Anybody that wants to challenge their town council, really look at this. I've looked at it. I mean, obviously, it's very wordy. It's loads and loads of pages, but it is about bringing sustainable development into every town council. Well, it's there anyway,
Yeah.
but how they're going to roll it out. And levelling up, something called levelling up, which is all kind of equitable communitarian stuff, is all in there. And it's all you're going to have draconian sustainable development hoops to jump through in order to that they're just bringing all this stuff into your locality.
Gosh,
And,
yeah.
and planning applications that are completely sustainable will go through very easily, and ones that don't fill their criteria won't. So yeah,
And you know, it's all that language, that sort of
I know
corporate
it's
speak,
awful. Yeah,
and mealy mouthed words like sustainable, which sounds all very good and benevolent, but actually, you know, has really a different meaning. It's there to deflect what is really going on. I mean, look at it; it's just full of all this nonsense. You really need to have an hour.
yeah, and there are some really good people that can pick all that apart. I mean, I've picked apart so many government documents, but
Yeah.
I'm going to have a really good look at it this week, because I will be mentioning it at the event. Now, I'm going to talk about the event now. It's on
Yes.
Friday, the 7th of July at Glastonbury Town Hall, and it came on the back of the thing going viral. When it went viral, I did. I mean, I had already asked the council for this meeting, and they didn't come up with the goods. I know it was a difficult time for them because they'd just gone unitary, and that's another issue. Councils,
Unitary. What does that mean?
it means that they kind of regionalised. Like our council got amalgamated with, I think, 3 or 4 other councils, and instead of being Mendip District Council, it's now Somerset District Council, and
Oh,
it's
I
been
see.
amalgamated. So they're kind of regionalising and amalgamating councils so that they're bigger, and actually eventually, and they say this isn't the case, but it is the case. They say eventually town councils would disappear. So your access to having any kind of if you like, any kind of effect over your local issues, it will be more difficult because it'll be in the hands of the smart city mayors and the covenant of smart city mayors. And they're calling them 3 different things. It's the smart city mayors, the covenant of smart city mayors. Look at this all up, and they're called the directly elected mayors in Parliament. So what they're doing is they're trying to regionalise everything. So all the decisions are made under sustainable development by smart city mayors. This is
Mm.
something that nobody really understands is happening, and it's something that people need to know. Look at it and make a noise about it, because this is taking you further away from the decision making in your own locality.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Someone else is making the decision. They don't even live anywhere near you,
No,
and we
no.
know ultimately the big decision is just coming from unelected bureaucrats who have no right to make these decisions in the first place and affect our
Yes.
lives. It's
Yes, yeah, and all of this is coming from somewhere above, and it's not coming from the people. When
mm.
when did we ever decide to have LTNs?
Yeah, I
50s?
mean, this is something I
Never
have
happened.
asked in a video. Who, you know, if the grassroots people who live in the town say, actually, do you know what? Well, this is what we want, and we've come up with this idea, and we're putting it forward. Clearly, they haven't, because it's, as you just said, it's all over the world, and the policies have been drawn up, and you're getting it whether you like it or not.
And there's massive money behind this. If we're wondering why we've got some kind of cost of living crisis, billions has been put into this.
Mm.
We didn't ask for it. It's not in our interests. And the money is there available to create this agenda.
Mm.
And that's the worrying thing. And so this event, it's I keep going back to the event. Sorry, I've got
No,
so
please do.
but the event is really, I tried to get the council to agree to an event. They said they wanted to have a citizens assembly, and they wanted to control it with sort of, people on different tables with facilitators. And I said, no, we don't want any of that. We just want, a face-to-face debate with the council and a couple of climate scientists. And they refused. So we did it ourselves. We hired the town hall, We've organised the event. I've got two amazing climate scientists, a guy called Peter Taylor, who wrote a book called Chill in 2012, I believe. I can't remember when no, it's before that, way before that. He wrote a book called Chill. Now, he used to work for the UN. He used to work with the IPCC, and he realised that actually and he's got 2 Oxford degrees. He's amazing, and he's worked with all these people, and he worked for Greenpeace for a while, and he realized that all of it was infiltrated and based on lies. Not all of it, but most of it, all the stuff that he's talking about. He understands that there are issues. We've got issues. We do have pollution issues. We've got all sorts of issues, but CO2 is not the issue. And anthropogenic global warming has been blamed for everything.
Yes.
And he's not with that. There's another guy called Ralph Ellis, who's he's Professor Ralph.
Found
Ellis.
Is that the book?
Yeah, that's the book. Yeah.
Okay.
Peter Taylor. He wrote it. Gosh, I think it must have been the early 2000s. And he got completely ostracized by the scientific community for bringing that book out. And he is the most amazing man, deeply spiritual man. He's a shaman now. He's spent many years sort of working in the academic industry, or whatever, the world.
Yeah.
But he's actually he's going into deep spiritual stuff as well. So he really does understand what's going on. And Ralph Ellis is another climate scientist. He's written a lot of papers, peer-reviewed papers on hurricanes and tornadoes, because apparently they have a lot to do with I don't really understand this, but it's all to do with when you do have global warming, and there are, we're looking at cycles here. We're not looking at graphs, small sections of graphs. We're looking at big cycles, sun cycles, which create heating and cooling of the planet. And he's looking at the fact that when the planet does heat up, you do get tornadoes and cyclones and hurricanes. And at the moment, because the planet is cooling down, we're in a set cycle, a natural cycle, that actually we're not getting any of those. And he's written these amazing peer-reviewed things, and we've got Ian Jarvis, who's an amazing speaker on 5G. He's going to be
met Ian Jarvis, and I've got his book actually. Yeah.
Oh, well done. Yeah, he's incredible, and I felt really bad because I didn't have time to big him up enough the other day when I did an interview. So Ian, I hope you're listening. You're great. And we're glad to have you speaking as well. And then there's me talking about Agenda 2030 very briefly, because I really want it to be about climate change. And some of the, obviously the AI that's being brought in on the back of it to surveil us and to, to really keep us enslaved. So we just need to make a big noise about this. Now, we have invited the town council. Some of them are coming. We've got the climate officer. I didn't know we had a climate officer. A climate change officer is coming. The town clerk's coming. A few of the town councillors are coming. The mayor is coming, but she's not staying for the Q&A, I don't think. We're trying to persuade her to, but at the moment she's just coming to give her address in support of NetZero. So we're just doing our best, really, and the town council haven't been very helpful, but we're just going ahead. And
and will you film it? Will people be able to watch it?
It's being filmed. It's also being live streamed, and
brilliant.
I do want to thank Unity News Network and the UK column and Eli from the Shine events for doing all the tech and helping us with the streaming of it and everything there.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, that's good. Yeah, because if it's just behind closed doors, who knows what's being said, as you say.
Exactly. No, and we what we want to do is we've also got people coming from all the other loads of other towns, and thank you all of you who are going to be there, whether you're watching it live streamed or whether you're going to be there in person. I think a few of you are coming from Thetford, Colchester, Canterbury, Oxford, Cambridge, wherever. We thank you, because if you can actually do something similar, and our climate scientists are happy for you to go along to your town council, and we could make a lot of noise about this and get this to be a national sort of initiative.
Yes.
Because we don't want this. We don't want these 15-minute cities. We don't want any of this. And thank goodness that in a way this has been revealed, because, this is all going on in the background. This, all these, the national planning policy framework is all part. This is how they've implemented the 15-minute cities. This is how they're going about this. And they don't expect anyone to look at these documents. They're all squirreled away in on the internet. They're not made a noise about. And we need to look at these and pick them apart and say, who is behind this and why has it been implemented without our consent?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're the ones living here.
And we're paying the bills.
I'm paying the bill. Well, I made a video some time ago called "Don't Build a Prison," and it's like we're paying for this prison to be built.
I know.
And we shouldn't be.
We literally are, complying to our own
demise,
our own prison.
Yeah.
It's like it's a global panopticon. It's the all-seeing eye. It's where we're being surveilled 24/7, data harvested 24/7. And this is the way they will bring in all of that grid, the CBDCs, the central banking digital system, the digital IDs. It's all predicated on us saying, yes, we want this, we will have it. We have to just say no.
Yes.
And it's about convincing people that this prison is being built.
Yes.
And this is why this debate is so important, because I was absolutely stunned at how naive members of our own town council were when that talk went viral, the one on the 14th of March. They couldn't understand it. They literally, they were flabbergasted. They just thought, I'm a conspiracy theorist and I've got loads of supporters all over the world. I was accused of being being put in the employ of the oil companies for putting this information out by my own town council. And it's just unbelievable. And they actually had no idea that the trials were going on in Oxford, Cambridge.
Well, I mean, this is madness. It just shows that the councils are not talking to one another and sharing what's going on in the country. I mean, something like that, a trial in which you are limiting the amount of people who can travel, or the amount of traffic that can travel across. You would think that would be worthy of sharing with other town councils, even if they were just saying, do you think there's merit in this? And you would then think that some town councils would go, it sounds a bit of a barking scheme, especially if people are being injured or dying because they can't get ambulances or they can't get to a hospital because they've now got to go on a ring road. We need to have a much more public outrage about all of this, but half the time the public don't know because it's not on mainstream media. And where are the public? Most of them, they're watching all the diversions that we get on mainstream media about Paul Schofield and submarines.
Yeah, exactly. And how much of that is real, how much we do I mean, I was reading something the other day, and I did mention it on another podcast, that there's something at the moment called reality privilege, where only the elite have the privilege of knowing what the reality is, if indeed there is a reality, and that we are being funneled and to not know what is real and what isn't, particularly youngsters. You think about the whole gender thing, they're confused. Everybody's confused. What's real? Who do we trust? Who do we not trust? What's going on? Is that story real? Or is that a false flag? Is that this? Is that that? And what you do is you find that you're so confused about the reality that you think is reality, that it's very easy then to funnel you into alternative reality, like living life through your virtual reality headset.
Yes.
And living in the metaverse, which is ultimately one of their aims, which I don't think will happen. But that is one of their aims, is to make our world so confusing and so small, shrink it down so that you can't actually do anything. In order to achieve net zero, you literally can't move. You can't move out of your zone. And what they really want you to do is to be in your smart city apartment and experiencing life through the virtual reality. And that's so way off the mark of how human beings should be. We should be in nature. We should be, and to divorce us from all of that, which is their aim. They're very anti-nature. They're anti-human. And who knows who the hell they are? They're psychopaths.
And this is the biggest, I think, the biggest hurdle when you're talking to people who are not familiar with any of this, is the fact that you would say, even if they said, okay, I can accept that there is a cabal or a bunch of people who want to run the world, and maybe, they have or they haven't got our best interests at heart. But the fact that you then start to sort of get into what they really are, and the fact that they are anti-human, they are anti-nature, they don't, I think that's where people start to go, this sounds a bit screwy, because most people understand what nature is, understand what humanity is, and cannot really conceive that there would be perhaps the occasional oddball who would feel like that, but not 8,500 of them who are sort of managing all of this, and that they've been doing this for hundreds of years, and that they've planned all of this, and these documents are out there. I think that's where people start to go, this is a bit bonkers. But then as you start to reveal this to people, to me, the simple question is, if they want you to live in a 15-minute city, which you could argue back a couple of hundred years ago, that's what a village was. Everything was there within 15 minutes. It sounds ideal and idyllic. You had the farm supplying the food. You had the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and everything you wanted. If they wanted you to be in that sort of situation again, which a lot of places are, we don't actually have to go very far to get our papers and our food and things like that anyway. Why the hell do they need cameras? Why do they need to penalise you if you go across a city more than 100 times? Why do they need all of that? That's that's where it becomes sinister, because we sort of already do live in. I mean, unless you've got work that takes you abroad or you commute 2 hours to your job, most people stay within their environment anyway. It is a bit. It's just.
Well, I slightly don't agree with that, because the world has changed so much. I mean, wouldn't it be lovely if we could turn back the clock, where families and communities stayed and lived within 15 minutes and you got everything locally from the local shops? Things have changed where families are now living miles apart because of work, because they have to travel and be in a certain place for work. So grandparents are miles away. I mean, I'm an hour and a quarter from my grandchildren, and I travel up the motorway all the time. If I was incarcerated in my 15-minute city and not allowed out, which is what they aim to do, is they do aim to make at the moment it's a softer agenda. But that if cities are the smart cities that they talk about in the global diversity assessment that I've been looking at for the last 15-16 years, it's about actually locking people down in these human settlement zones and having buffer zones in between where only military have access. So that if they've put that into a document that's come out of the Earth Summit, then that is the aim. And thing is that people do live, they work and live miles away from their families. Elderly parents can live a long way off, so you need to get to them, and things like that. So wouldn't it be lovely to turn back the clock?
Yes. No, I'm not. I'm not saying that people don't travel to see their grandchildren, but I mean, mostly, I'm making the point is, as we are now, we don't need all these other measures to persuade us to do so, because most, you might visit your grandchildren once a week, and you might go to your granny who's 100 miles away, every 2 weeks, but most people are not doing that every single day. They might be commuting to work, which is understandable, but most people, we can't afford to just keep shoving petrol in the car and do that all the time anyway. So I suppose my point is, why do we need these measures to push us into a theoretical 15-minute city when we're sort of already there, but we want the freedom to be able to go and visit our parents and stuff? The fact that they are pushing military style surveillance and military theoretical walls around it, if not actual walls, with 5G and the fact that central banks' digital currency will prevent you from leaving if you wanted to on a pseudo credit score. I mean, why would that? This is what I'm saying is, to somebody who's not awake, these sort of questions, they would, why do we need all it? We don't need to do that. I don't understand. Why do we need it?
We don't need the AI and we don't need the fines. And
Yes,
that's really, the fines are a means of revenue to ramp up this agenda.
yes,
I, 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 I can't, the camera, the whole sort of demonizing of certain cars,
yeah,
when actually the electric cars are far less sustainable than a diesel car or a petrol, or an old petrol car. All of this needs to be talked about. And in fact, that lovely lady in Colchester really, really sort of, she put it out there about how unsustainable things like solar panels are and electric cars and all that sort of thing. We've got to really have a talk about this. We've got to
mm,
make a noise about it, because you're right. This is all done to actually restrict us, and it's all based on misinformation at the end of the day. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, they're confusing us so that we don't know what's up and what's down anymore.
Mm.
And they'll come in with the nice, soft, easy, simple answer of these 15 minutes low traffic. Wouldn't it be lovely? People are walking and cycling, and people are going, oh, that all sounds very nice. There'll be trees and there'll be this, and actually, really, it's all of that is just a facade, because they don't want you to go anywhere. And as you say, and we know that the plan is to rewild everywhere and get rid of farms, so
Yeah.
people will have to eat synthetic food. I mean, it is just so horrific, and it's that what I think is the difficult hurdle in waking people up, because it seems so. It just seems so incredible that people think, nah, it can't happen. But attacking it on the basis of these, why do we want cameras? Why are we implementing any restrictions? Why are we being charged for things that we've done for donkeys, And why is net zero not something we're actually seriously discussing if it's going to affect us all? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so your events, so
Um,
this is the first of potentially a series of events.
Well, it would be great. I mean, I was amazed as soon as I mean that thing I did on the 14th of March that went viral was very impromptu. I
Mm,
mean, I wasn't even going to be there. I did turn up, and when I went home that night, I thought, oh, that was a waste of time, because they never listen. The council never listened. I didn't even know it was being filmed. The council filmed it. They have a camera at the back. They film every town council meeting and put it on YouTube. So they shot themselves in the foot because it went viral. They put it up on YouTube and it went viral. So my thinking was, if that happened and people have the momentum to pick that up and think that was good, maybe if we extended that and did something like a proper debate, which is what I asked for, maybe that could go viral. Maybe making a big noise about
mm.
this will actually wake people up, and that's the only hope I have, is that happens. That we put this out, and again it goes across the world, and people not only in England, people all over the world can just challenge their own town councils,
Yes.
and say and make a noise about it, because if we make a noise, then people do listen, I think. Yeah.
Let's hope they do.
Yes,
Let's hope they do. Because time is running out.
I know, as Prince Charles has with his clock.
He set the clock for this ridiculous countdown to 1.5 degrees lowering of CO2, which is very dangerous. Once you
Exactly.
start
Nothing
to,
will grow, Charles.
yes, golly.
You don't need to be a brain of Britain to work that one out, but clearly you do.
Apparently,
Because
you need
we
to have a
need
few brain cells in there.
you do, and I do wonder about the madness of King Charles.
Yes, that's right. We had the madness of King George, and now maybe we've got the madness of King Charles. Maybe that just
We certainly do. We
yeah,
do.
we do. There's a madness in the whole world at the moment, and
Exactly.
we need
And,
to
yeah, it's about addressing that madness. The
yes,
world has gone madness. And it's just about being almost like the voice of common sense and the voice of reason. That's what we need.
yeah,
We need common sense. We need reason. We need people to feel that the world hasn't gone mad, and that there's a
mm,
few people, we might be voices in the wind at the moment, but maybe, and we have to keep trying. Never, ever, ever, ever give up.
no,
Never.
no, absolutely. And the thing is, I mean, I think on one level you can say, look, you don't have to agree with us, just entertain the idea that actually up
You
is
remember?
up and down is down, and some of those things that we held on for hundreds, thousands of years that we believed in, like two genders and things like that, and
Bad things like that.
and mad ideas that children shouldn't be sexualized at school, and the state should have no business to really get involved with any child under 15, 16, when sex education in theory should come in, because they're not even legally supposed to be participating in that in this society. People don't have to agree with it, but it would be nice if they could just listen and then make their own decision. Do they want to live in a 15-minute city in which they're being surveilled every 10 seconds? Maybe they do. And if they do, well, good luck to them. But I think when you put common sense in front of people and they look at it at face value and say, actually, yeah, I don't want that. I think people, but at the moment they're just being blindsided and deflected with all sorts of nonsense in the mainstream media, and they're not being allowed to have any kind of critical thinking. And that's where I think your event is bringing people to the table, and particularly the town councillors and people who, again, are just going along with it because they think they are actually helping.
They do. And, there's well-meaning people. They really think that they're saving the planet. And by going along with these government directives, they believe the goodness of their government. They don't believe for a minute that their government could be doing something that doesn't serve them at all.
No.
So that's why they're rolling all this out. And it's very difficult to unpick that and say, well, look, and what I've realized is that we're doing, and it's only by sort of really getting on with it and doing it. And I think about it the other night that at the Earth Summit they brought ICLEI in, or just before the Earth Summit, and at the Earth Summit they said we're bringing ICLEI into every town council in the world to roll out Agenda 21, which it was then, that's now turned into Agenda 2030, which has got bigger goals and what have you. That you realise that actually all of this was done, and it's been a long-term plan, and people have gone along with it because they want to save the planet. They've been guilt-tripped into this belief in anthropogenic global warming, and so they're good people at the end of the day. And if they could see that actually this has been a big con, and that they are being conned, and that actually all of this has come from the United Nations, and the United Nations aren't serving us, and that's so obvious about what's happened in the last 3 years. If people didn't wake up when all that happened and understand that the United Nations were behind that with the WHO and the WEF, but at the end of the day, it was a United Nations initiative, and the WHO and the WEF were born underneath the United Nations, that all of these agencies have been born from the United Nations. And the United Nations have really put all this together, along with the Club of Rome, the Trilateral Commission, all their different agencies. And that this is an absolute plan to bring global control so that they are in charge of everything. They own, there's a one world currency, a one world government, a one world everything, a one world religion, if you like, of climate change. And do you know what really bothered me this last couple of weeks? Right, I've been helping I've got all sorts of personal problems going on at the moment, so I've had to look after my grandchildren quite a bit, which is fine, but I'm juggling, the world and the children, which is lovely because they bring you down to earth.
Yes.
And I took my granddaughter to her drama lesson the other day, and she panicked the night before. She said, I have to go as a polar bear and I haven't got a costume. So I ran her up a polar bear costume.
As you do.
As you do. That's what grannies do.
Yeah.
Polar bear costume. So I ran it up and she was happy, and she went off to a drama class. And when I picked her up, I said, so why are you a polar bear? And she said, oh, we're all dying, Nandy. We're all dying. Polar bears are dying, and so are the penguins. And I thought, oh my God, this play is all about global warming. Why are they propagandizing children?
Yeah.
Why? And I'm going to get a leaflet anonymously. I won't embarrass her, but there will be a leaflet going out to this drama school about the polar bears. There's too many of them. They're actually shooting them.
Yeah.
There's 2 blooming polar bears.
Yeah, they're not dying at all.
No, of course they're not.
And this is that
propagandize children. And actually, in the script, I read the script. It says, the humans, the parents have got to give up driving. We've got to save the polar bears.
Yeah. Well, this is, I mean, the indoctrination of children, of course, is how they get kids to absolutely accept and believe whatever they tell them, and then they'll nag the parents and all of that, and they're the next generation, which will be the ones who will be sitting in those 15-minute cities wondering what the hell happened.
Yeah.
And why are there now loads of polar bears and very few humans. But anyway, we'll worry about that. So, well, good luck with the event. You said it's on
so much.
7th of July. When did you say it was?
Right. Do you want to come along? Do you want to come on? No, you're probably too busy.
My diary. Oh my God, my diary.
I know, bless you.
Otherwise I would be there.
Yeah. It's a very, we've got loads of people coming, and it'll be an interesting event. We'll put out the live stream to everyone at some point, and you'll be able to log on. And it's on the 7th of July. It starts about 5:45 in the evening, and it goes on till 10:30 at night. That was the only time we could actually book the town hall.
It's at the town hall, yeah.
An evening event.
So if anybody's interested, they could come along.
They could
and show support.
Yeah, there will be some tickets on the door, but they'll be limited because we were selling them in a local shop. I mean, if people do want to come along, I wonder if you can actually purchase tickets from a shop in Glastonbury called Fairy Aromatics. That's a good little plug for them. They're tincture and aromatherapy shop, and they're lovely, and they are tickets, so they can hold some for
always
people.
Nice to have a pleasant smelling fairy.
Exactly.
Fairy Aromatics
in Glastonbury called Fairy Aromatics, wouldn't you? Really,
absolutely. Brilliant. Well, good luck with it, Sandy. Thank you so much for coming on. And if anybody wants to sort of go down there anyway and just have an enjoy, it's a lovely town to go and explore. And Fairy Aromatics sounds grand. To go and sniff a fairy today. In the meantime. I don't know where that came from. But in the meantime, we've got to save the planet, obviously, and get rid of NetZero. Let the fairies loose. Good luck, Sandy.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for joining me. So there we go. Brilliant stuff. I'll be back with more monologues, and terrific. My diary has got some amazing people coming up very soon in there, and I'm out and about doing talks as well. So keep watching the channel. Until next time, in the meantime, from Sandy and I, goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.